Approaching her with a mischievous grin, Leon offered to give her a massage if she felt uncomfortable anywhere. Rosweiss, looking at him with an arrogant expression, responded with a challenge. She taunted him, asking why he didn't show her the full strength of the Empire's mightiest dragon slayer. She then added that it had only been 2 days, and he was already finished. Was that really all he could do? Leon, hearing her words, becomes annoyed and asks what she just said. He suddenly removes the blanket from Rosweiss, remarking that he had intended to let her rest tonight because she seemed so tired, but it seems he was worrying too much. Rosweiss looks at Leon, pretending to be weak and pitiful. Leon, placing his hand on her cheek and getting close to her face while looking into her eyes, comments that her mouth is tough, so her body must be tough too. Leon then removes his t-shirt and tells Rosweiss that she will regret this. Rosweiss, with a cunning smile, replies that she has never regretted anything. Suddenly, Rosweiss uses her tail to catch Leon and wraps it around him. Leon, in shock, watches as she drags him with full speed, before throwing him forcefully onto the bed. Rosweiss then slowly climbs up the bed and sits on top of Leon, smirking as she looks into his eyes. Leon, noticing the sudden change in her demeanor, thinks about her great strength. Realizing what's happening, he asks her if she has fully recovered. Rosweiss, with an arrogant and proud expression, places her finger on her lips to signal him to remain silent and not shout. She then removes the red cloth that Anna had previously brought. Leon, seeing the handcuffs and other items, is taken aback in shock, wondering when she had prepared all of this. Rosweiss proceeds to handcuff Leon's hands, and he begins to question if he is sending himself into the tiger's mouth. Rosweiss removes Leon's clothes, handcuffing both his hands and legs, and even ties a cloth around his eyes. Leon trembles, gritting his teeth in humiliation. Rosweiss, looking at him with an arrogant expression, warns him not to think about struggling. Leon, angered by her words, asks if she's trying to torture him to extract a confession. As Rosweiss continues to humiliate Leon, he insists that, as a female dragon, she should know he has received professional anti-interrogation training and will never give in to her. In response, Rosweiss reaches for a crystal ball and questions his claim. She then plays a recording from the crystal ball, where Leon can be heard expressing a desire to kiss her. Upon hearing the familiar voice, Leon's eyes widen in shock as he recognizes it. The recording continues, revealing more of him asking for kisses. Rosweiss, maintaining her arrogant demeanor, casts a knowing look at Leon as the recording plays. She questions who the person in the recording is, the one pleading with her so earnestly. The audio then shifts to a more intimate moment between the two, and as those sounds fill the room, Leon's face flushes a deep red from embarrassment. Words catch in his throat, unable to respond. Trying to deflect, Leon points toward the crystal ball while looking away, stammering in panic that it can't possibly be him, that the voice just sounds similar. Rosweiss, unrelenting, brings the crystal ball closer to his face, sarcastically offering to play it even closer to help him recognize it. Rosweiss brings the crystal ball closer and plays the recording, where, in a moment from the past, Leon's voice clearly expresses his desire, saying he wants to kiss her, he wants to hug her, and he wants to become one with her. Each word from the recording strikes Leon deeply, piercing through him with overwhelming embarrassment. His body begins to tremble, unable to bear listening any further. Overwhelmed and defeated, Leon bows his head to Rosweiss, admitting his loss and stating that he remembers it all. In response, Rosweiss gazes at him with a smirking smile, satisfied with his reaction. She acknowledges that he has remembered everything clearly. Then, still holding her commanding posture, she asks him to repeat what he had said several times. Lifting his head gently but firmly, she offers to review the recording again if his memory isn't clear enough. That night, Rosweiss continues to humiliate and dominate Leon through playful torment until she is fully satisfied. And just like that, time quietly passes by. Leon, having endured a night of humiliation at the hands of Rosweiss, now lies in bed with tears in his eyes, feeling completely hollowed out. As the quiet lingers, a small dragon flies in and lands by the window. Rosweiss notices its arrival and checks the paper it brought. Leon, still recovering, catches sight of her actions and turns toward her. Curious, he asks if the letter is from the academy and questions why they would send something so late at night. Rosweiss, now with a serious expression, informs him that the academy has summoned them to return the next day. She then reveals the reason: Noah has been involved in a fight with someone. Hearing this, Leon is taken aback. Shocked by the news, he quickly rises from the bed, startled by the sudden turn of events. The next day, inside the Wilson vice president's office, a tense atmosphere fills the room. On one side, Noah stands silently, composed and still. Opposite her, Three young red dragon kids remain quiet, visibly battered with serious injuries and bruises covering their bodies, clear signs of a recent conflict. The vice principal addresses the room, stating that the purpose of the meeting is to address the fight that occurred between Noah and her classmates. Rosweiss, maintaining a serious expression, responds firmly, questioning the intent behind the statement. Her gaze sharpens as she turns toward the three dragon kids, her presence commanding. With a fierce demeanor, she confronts the situation, making it clear that these three had ganged up to bully her daughter. The young dragons, startled by her aura, recoil slightly in silence. Meanwhile, Leon moves over to Noah, examining her carefully from head to toe with concern, checking both her front and back. Gently, he asks if she is hurt in any way. Noah, calm and composed, reassures him that she is fine. The vice principal states that, in truth, it was Noah who beat up the three dragon kids. Upon hearing this, Rosweiss reacts with a mix of relief and surprise, expressing her astonishment. Meanwhile, the three young dragon kids stand huddled together, visibly shaken and fearful under the intense pressure of the situation. Leon, equally surprised, glances at Noah. She returns his look silently, as if waiting for him to respond, whether it be with criticism or support. To her surprise, Leon raises a hand and gives her a thumbs up in quiet praise. Internally, he feels proud, thinking that she is truly worthy of being his daughter. Well done. Receiving her father's support, Noah crosses her arms and stands tall, a proud smile forming on her face. The vice principal, observing the scene, reflects on the incident, not just as a simple scuffle among young dragons, but as one that also touches upon the deeper conflict between cocoon-born and viviparous dragons. The vice principal reflects on the nature of dragonkind, noting that their race has two distinct methods of reproduction: cocoon birth and live birth. While adult dragons show no significant difference regardless of their origin, variations in strength and abilities are evident during their youth. Cocoon-born dragonlings inherit strength directly from their mothers, granting them a natural edge in physical prowess and innate talent. In contrast, viviparous, or live-born, dragons must develop their abilities gradually through growth and learning. As a result, among dragons of the same age group, cocoon-born youths generally exhibit superior strength compared to those born from the womb. Gazing thoughtfully at Noah, the vice principal acknowledges her as an exception. Despite being a live-born dragon, she managed to defeat three cocoon-born dragons who were several years her senior, all on her own. This remarkable feat highlights her extraordinary potential, suggesting a bright and promising future lies ahead. At that moment, the door to the office opens, most likely by the parents of the three young dragon kids. Their fathers step into the room, each wearing an air of arrogance. One of them, speaking with a dismissive tone, remarks that he heard his son beat someone up and brushes it off as nothing serious, casually offering to cover any medical expenses. However, the scene before them quickly shatters their confidence. As they lay eyes on their children, bruised, bandaged, and clearly the ones who were on the receiving end of the beating, their jaws drop in disbelief. The father, with a scar across his face, stunned, stammers out a question, asking his son how he ended up in such a state. Overwhelmed, the three young dragon kids rush toward their fathers, crying and clinging to them for comfort. Observing the scene, Rosweiss leans in closer to Leon and whispers that one of the men belongs to the clan of the Red Flame Dragon King, Constantine. She explains that members of the Red Flame Dragon clan are notoriously arrogant, domineering, and extremely difficult to deal with. In response, Leon smirks and whispers back with a hint of pride that he has slain enough Red Flame Dragons to circle the academy twice. The Red Dragon King steps forward, his voice dripping with condescension as he addresses the room. With a mocking tone, he remarks that it's none other than the Queen of the Silver Dragon clan, questioning how someone of her status could fail to discipline her own child, allowing her to bully other dragons freely. As he approaches Rosweiss, his presence towering and intimidating, Leon steps in between them, positioning himself protectively in front of her. The Red Dragon King continues, belittling the Silver Dragon clan, claiming they lack the strength of the Red Flame Dragon clan and resort to using their young dragons to provoke and bully others. Rosweiss, enraged by his words, reacts sharply, questioning what did he just said. The Red Dragon King, his expression hardening, declares that unless an apology is made to his son, they shouldn't even dream of leaving the room. Leon, unfazed, stares him down with a confident and arrogant expression. He responds with defiance, clearly unshaken, hinting that he's more than ready for a fight and his hands are itching too. But before the tension can escalate further, the vice principal slams the table, demanding silence from everyone in the room, reasserting authority over the situation. The vice principal clears his throat, trying to bring the heated room under control. In a calm but firm tone, he urges the parents to be patient and allow him to explain the full context of the incident. He proceeds to recount the events, stating that the conflict began the previous night in the cafeteria, where Lal and 2 other students had an argument with Noah. During the exchange, Noah's plate accidentally struck Lal, staining his clothes. The vice principal continues, explaining that later, on the way back to the dormitory, the 3 boys ambushed Noah in the backyard, leading to a fierce physical confrontation. He then turns to the 3 young dragons, giving them an opportunity to speak. Caught off guard, they respond nervously, denying they have anything further to say. At that moment, Noah quietly raises her hand and states that she has something to add, drawing the attention of everyone in the room. The vice principal turns his attention to Noah and calmly asks if she has anything to add. Standing confidently with her arms folded, Noah begins to speak. She clarifies that the incident in the cafeteria started when Lal deliberately provoked her, and that the plate being knocked over was purely accidental. Her words cause visible discomfort in Lal, who begins trembling and gritting his teeth nervously. Noah continues, explaining that when she was in the backyard of the dormitory, the 3 boys rushed at her unexpectedly, startling her. In the heat of the moment and out of self-defense, she accidentally broke Lal's arm. Fixing her gaze on the boys, Noah addresses Lal directly, her expression dark and serious, pressing him for the truth. Lal, flustered and panicking, tries to deny it at first, but quickly changes his response and admits it's true. Embarrassed and confused, he hides behind his father. The Red Dragon King, witnessing his son's fear, questions why he's so afraid of her. Leon looks at Noah and tells her that he thinks she did something wrong. Noah, hearing this, looks at him with a sad expression, unsure of how to react. She seems to be searching for her father's support, hoping he wouldn't blame her for her actions. The proud, confident smile and domineering attitude she had earlier when Leon praised her fade away in an instant. However, Leon, once again showing his support, places his hand on his knee and advises that next time she faces a similar situation, she should kick her opponent's knee first. Noah, regaining her composure, clenches her fists, eager for more details. She asks why targeting the knee. Leon, standing with his arms folded in a dominating stance, explains that on the battlefield, the Red Flame Dragon clan has a weakness in their knees, making them vulnerable to attacks. Noah listens intently, taking notes of his words. She nods, acknowledging the advice and confirming that she'll pay attention next time. Fueled by anger, the Red Dragon King points a finger at Leon and accuses him, demanding the vice principal's attention. He claims that Leon, in front of everyone, taught his daughter to bully his child in public. Leon, however, listens to the complaint with a calm smile, unbothered by the accusation. The Red Dragon King, growing more agitated, asserts that an apology would no longer be enough for a student with violent tendencies like them. He demands that they should be expelled immediately. Hearing this, Leon's expression shifts, growing more serious. The Silver Dragon family looks toward the vice principal, awaiting his response. The vice principal, trying to maintain control of the situation, asks the parents to be patient. He explains that the decision of whether to expel Noah will ultimately be made by the academy, not him. The vice principal, pointing to Lal, explains that many students had reported his habit of bullying viviparous dragons. Witnesses from the cafeteria the previous night confirmed that it was Lal who deliberately provoked Noah first. Hearing this, the Red Dragon King becomes enraged, interpreting the statement as an unjust verdict. His son was beaten, yet the academy was blaming him instead of punishing Noah. Tension rises in the room as he and Leon lock eyes in a fierce stare. The Red Dragon King tries to argue about the age gap, attempting to frame the incident as his child being unfairly targeted. Leon, stepping in, challenges him, questioning whether there is any shame in complaining about a child being beaten by someone who is just a year and 2 months old. At that moment, Lal blurts out his age, 7 years and 11 months. A brief silence follows, as both Leon and the Red Dragon King glance at him, momentarily. Leon, unable to hold back his amusement, covers his mouth and laughs, mocking the Red Dragon King. He remarks that if he were in such an embarrassing situation, he would rather dig a deep hole and bury himself, letting the shame disappear forever. The Red Dragon King, hearing this, clenches his teeth in fury, his glare fixed on Leon. Fueled by anger, the Red Dragon King lashes out, calling Leon a coward who doesn't even dare to reveal his tale, questioning how someone like that could dare mock his son. His rage intensifies as he points his finger at Ross Weiss and Noah, insulting their entire family as lowly. At that moment, Leon reacts swiftly. He grabs the Red Dragon King's pointing finger and twists it. His expression turns cold and threatening, making it clear that insulting him was one thing, but pointing at his wife and child and cursing them crossed the line. The Red Dragon King screams in pain from the grip, saying it is hurting. Rosweiss, observing Leon's action, smiles quietly to herself, recognizing how protective he is of their children. After Leon releases his grip, the Red Dragon King erupts in anger, demanding to know how Leon dared to attack him and declaring his identity as the Duke of the Red Flame Dragon Clan, under the leadership of Constantine. Before the situation could escalate further, the other two Red Dragon Fathers quickly step in. Each grabs one of the Duke's arms, restraining him from continuing the confrontation. One of them calmly advises him not to lose his temper, reminding him that the Vice Principal is present and watching. The other echoes the sentiment, urging him not to act out here. Leon, unfazed, clearly not taking the threat seriously, he says that he is so scared. Breaking the tension, Rosweiss finally speaks, addressing the Red Dragon King directly. She reminds him that this incident is merely a minor conflict between children in school, and involving the status of both families over such a matter would serve no real benefit. Rosweiss, maintaining a composed demeanor, turns to the Vice Principal and calmly states her trust in the Academy's ability to make a fair and impartial judgment. She adds that they are willing to accept whatever decision the Academy arrives at. Her words strike a chord with the Vice Principal, who quietly acknowledges her as a wise and far-sighted queen of the Silver Dragon Clan. Shifting his attention to the Red Dragon King, the Vice Principal issues a stern warning. He explains that if any parent continues to stir trouble within the Academy and pushes the situation beyond reason, their child's student status may be revoked. The threat of such consequences causes the Red Dragon King to falter, caught off guard by the gravity of the statement. Lal, sensing the seriousness of the matter, pleads with his father to let it go, expressing his desire to continue studying at the Academy. His words leave the Red Dragon King momentarily silent. Composing himself, he adjusts his posture, clears his throat, and with a forced calmness, admits to losing his temper earlier. He then states that they, too, will accept the Academy's decision. The Red Dragon King, though trying to maintain his composure, glared at Leon with gritted teeth, his mind seething with suppressed rage. Internally, he resolved to avoid making a scene any further within the Academy walls, but silently vowed to settle the matter once they were outside school grounds. The Vice Principal, sensing the tension but pressing forward, began summarizing the incident and its resolution. He declared that Lal had been the one at fault initially, having provoked the conflict, while Noah had responded in self-defense, albeit a bit excessively. Turning to Noah, he stated that she would return to her class to receive verbal education from her teacher and take the time to seriously reflect on her actions. Then, addressing Lal and the other two young dragons, the Vice Principal handed down their consequences. Each student would be required to write a self-review and submit it to their class teacher. Additionally, they would be responsible for maintaining the hygiene of the classroom for an entire week. With that, he concluded the matter, stating that the above constituted the final disciplinary decision. After the issue was resolved, Noah waved her hand, casually announcing her return to the classroom. Rosweiss gave her a nod, permitting her to go ahead. As she walked away, Leon cheerfully waved at her, reminding her with a grin to remember his earlier advice about targeting the knees if anyone tried to bully her again. Just then, the Vice Principal suddenly appeared behind Leon and called out his name. The unexpected voice startled Leon, causing his expression to freeze and his face to pale slightly in surprise. Turning around with an awkward smile, Leon greeted the Vice Principal while nervously wondering if his previous comment had been overheard. The Vice Principal, ignoring the moment, calmly mentioned that although he and Leon had only met a few times, there was something that had always puzzled him: Leon's tail had never been seen. The question hit Leon unexpectedly, and he stiffened. His thoughts raced as he wondered if the Vice Principal had started to uncover his true identity. The Vice Principal, with a curious yet composed expression, mentioned that he couldn't quite discern which noble dragon clan Leon hailed from and politely asked if Leon could share it, if it was convenient. Before Leon could respond, Rosweiss leaned in close, gently holding Leon's arm, and asserted that her husband wasn't from any noble lineage, but was merely an ordinary dragon. Leon, catching on, awkwardly laughed and supported Rosweiss's claim, affirming that he was just a commoner. The Vice Principal then nodded thoughtfully and remarked that it was truly remarkable how such a union had produced a dragon cub as talented as Noah. He looked at both of them with a subtle smile and added that St. Heath's Academy gladly welcomes such exceptional children. The underlying meaning of his words was clear: he was subtly encouraging them to have more children, the more the better, to fill the academy with gifted students. Leon and Rosweiss exchanged glances, both wearing awkward expressions, silently realizing that the Vice Principal had practically written down his intentions out loud. The Vice Principal, coughing lightly and clearing his throat, expressed his belief that when Noah graduates, she would surely have the strength and capability to lead the Dragon Clan in defeating more Dragon Slayers. He looked directly at Leon as he said this, implying high expectations for Noah's future. Leon, however, wore a long and awkward expression, internally thinking a sarcastic, "Thank you so much." The irony wasn't lost on him. His daughter was being nurtured to become powerful enough to one day possibly kill a Dragon Slayer like himself. His face subtly showed the weight of that realization, the bitter humor of raising someone who might become his executioner. It was a pit he felt he had dug for himself. In the distance, the Red Dragon King silently watched the interaction between Leon and the vice principal. Without saying much, he turned around and gave a quiet command to his subordinates to leave. Yet the lingering look in his eyes hinted at deeper intentions. It was clear he wasn't done, and as he warned earlier, the Red Dragon King seemed to be planning something once again. I'll upload the remaining chapters within 2 days. Enjoy watching, and don't forget to subscribe.